What's up, YouTube? Back at you again with a quick video before I start working. I know I look pretty crazy right now, but it's been a crazy morning already. Anyway, I wanted to come to you and let you guys know that I took the CAP exam last Thursday and I passed. Here is my congratulations letter as soon as I finished the exam. So yeah, and I just received the associate badge. They have to verify your information, so they provisionally approve you until they verify your information, and then you actually receive the CAP certification in the mail. So I just wanted to come to you really quick and talk about what I used, the study material that I use to study for this exam. So before I do that, let me tell you my next plan. So the CISSP was the next certification that I was aiming to get. That actually expires in May, or I think they come out with a new version in May. So my plan now is to focus on the CAS for the next 3 months, take the CAS, and after I pass that, then I'll use the remainder of the year to study for the CISSP, the new version that's out. I don't want to start studying the CISSP using old material, then they come out with a new test, and then everything that I'm doing is basically obsolete. So let's get into what I use to study. So let's go here. So to study for this exam, I did use the official ISC guide to the CAP CBK. Honestly, I didn't like this book. I promise you I didn't like this book. I mean, it wasn't a hard read. It just wasn't a good read either. So I was doing some research and I stumbled upon this that somebody had made, and it's basically RMF and SDLC combined, and it basically gives you all of the categories and tasks of the RMF. So you have categorize, select, implement, assess, authorize, monitor. You have all of the steps. But another thing that I noticed, I was studying like this, and I realized when I started watching other YouTube videos that people were saying that it's a revision to 37, and that kind of freaked me out because I was like, dang, I've been studying this for so long. And the revision actually comes with now the prepare step. So you have the prepare, and then you have all of the tasks under the prepare, which is 18 tasks. And they sprinkled, I think, 1 or 2 tasks up in here. But what I do like that they made a little bit easier was everything kind of like falls in order now based on you have the initiation of the SDLC, then you have that goes all the way into categorize, and then select, you actually have select, implement, and assess is all basically development acquisition, except the initiation phase is in control allocation. And then the last step, the last 2 steps, authorize and implementation, they basically mirror each other in the SDLC with authorize, implementation, assessment, and monitor, operation and maintenance. And of course, disposal is disposal. That's easy. So what I would say for this is, I think it's important to know all of the tasks, all of the steps, and all of the primary roles for the people in the organization that run those steps. I memorized basically all of this, and when I went into the test, the first thing I did was I basically list out every step, task, and role on the sheet of paper that they gave me, all the way down to the monitor step. And I basically started with all of this, and then I started my test. So another thing that I would also recommend is use the paper. I didn't realize how much the paper helps. So usually when I take certifications, I just never used the paper. But what I started noticing was I ended up going through all the steps and everything was right. But as I went through the tests, I started picking up on things that I was like, oh, well, that's right. But I forgot that. Like I saw the answer and I was like, oh, that's the answer. But I forgot that there could even be an answer. So let me write that down just in case in the future of me taking this test now, that answer pops up, I'll, have basically a little sticky note on it. It was weird. It was just weird thinking in my head, but it paid off. So yeah, I would suggest finding something like this. I actually created mine. And it has artifacts, inputs, outputs, references, controls for each task, and then you have the roles, the authorizing official, AODR, IOSO. That's another thing. So now up in the cap. So I was watching a video where this guy was saying that some of the roles and the basically some of the lingo is different. So like they were saying system security plan now says security plan. ISO now just says system owner, and that is partially true. So the way I looked at it is, honestly, if you're taking it between now and before they change this, you need to know both RMF and the revision 1 or revision 2, whatever, because sometimes they say system owner, sometimes they say information system owner, sometimes they say security plan, sometimes they say system security plan. But if you've been studying this, you pretty much know how to distinguish between both. To me, this test was heavily geared towards controls and assessments. Like, it was, I mean, the whole test was basically, are you able to assess controls, examine controls, test controls? Do you know the different roles in the RMF? Do you know about putting together authorization package? Do you know the documents that go in that package? Do you know everything there is to know about a poem? Do you know everything there is to know about a SAR? So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I took this exam, I was pretty scared because I had so many things happening around me, and I just didn't feel like I was gonna do well. But I had been studying for 3 months, and once I got to probably question 11 or question 12, I just started smiling because I was like, yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident now, and I'm gonna pass this. And I just kept doing good. I think out of the 125, 150 questions, however many it was, it probably was only 10 that I just didn't know. But also you have to realize with tests, you can use process elimination. So if you can mark off 2 answers that are obviously wrong, you have 2 more that you can basically a 50-50 chance of passing it. So yeah, I would suggest everyone get something like this and create it. The appendix of the NIST publications are your friend. That's all I'm gonna say. The appendix is your friend. Next, we had I also took like little notes from online, diet-cap, NIST, and just going through guides and stuff. The controls, I would say make sure you know everything there is about controls, especially especially the 17 that they want you to know. I mean, I think you should know all the controls, at least, the name and the title. I mean, you probably want to know like exactly what they all do, verbatim, but you should definitely know the management, privacy, operation, and technical controls based off of these here. And yeah, I also did examine controls, means expect, interview, demonstrate, test, and yeah, this was basically my little, I'm not gonna say cheat sheet, but what I did for my notes, I started to realize that doing notes on the computer on Excel for works for me better than actually writing them out, because I was doing that at first, and I'll show you that in a second. Did a little bit on Phipps, 102, 199, 200. You should know those. Sheet four was just other stuff that I did. And see, die cap, this cap, uh, fits for octave, those things. Those, I don't even remember those on the test. But the thing is, the book actually like tells you about that. And I mean, that's fine to give me a, back history of, RMF and authorization, and the guide to having secure organization and secure system. But I felt like a lot of it was fluff because it wasn't on the test. So, and this is just other stuff that I notes that I took. Quantitative and qualitative was for me the hardest thing to grasp until probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago, just the implementation of it. But I figured it out, and that was basically my last hurdle to get over. And then I felt like once I knew qualitative and quantitative and how those were used in questions and how to come up with the correct answer, I basically felt like, I was in a good position. And then this is the other thing. You definitely need to know everything about the risk assessment. You need to know all of the inputs, outputs, um, the Computer Security Act, paperwork reduction, Glinger Cohen, DOD, and stuff like that. You need to know these, but maybe one or two might be on the test. I can't remember if I ran across any of these, but they're more so just like I said, history on the test, history leading up to the test. But I don't know if I remember any of that being on the test. Sheet five, that was something that I was doing. So yeah, so let's talk about. So I'll show you my search real quick. Carlos Brown. I have the associate of ISC. I'm waiting for them to review my paperwork, and then that'll say cap. So I just want to talk about another thing. Honestly, this is what I would tell anybody taking the cap exam. If you want to pass the cap exam, you need to read Phipps 199, Phipps 200, 18. Let's see, 30, 34, 37. And the rest you can, oh yeah, and 53. Of course, 53 and 53A. But out of all of these, I would say, and this is going to be hard for a lot of people, you need to read 37 probably 7 times. You need to read 37 7 times. And then through, hold on, let me pull it up. Close current tab. You need to read 37 at least 7 times. And through reading 37 at least 7 times, you need to go through and highlight certain things each time you read it. That way, your things that you don't know are things that you completely don't know, you need to highlight. That way, the next time that you read over it, those will pop out to you, and then it'll just be more stuff that you that'll help you for the test. But I definitely would say reading this, I think I read it maybe 6 or 7 times. Reading this multiple times, I would say definitely put me over the edge to pass the exam. Reading 37 and reading 53, 53A, those put me over the top. Of course, Phipps 199 and 200. To me, those are really good. You definitely need to know those. But if you've been doing security for a while, you know about categorization and the high watermark, low watermark, you know how those things operate. But 37 really just gave me a really good understanding of how applying the RMF to federal systems work. And I really think I'm able to grasp everything better now. And I've been in a security position as well, I'm not going to say my title, but I've been in a security position for basically 4 or 5 years now. And that's not including my tenure of just IT experience from the other years. But I really felt like after taking this exam that I really knew everything there was to know about the RMF, just based off reading all of the NIST publications, which is there's a lot, but I would say skim through most of them. But 18, 37, 30, 53, and 53A, you need to read those at least 7 times. Those would definitely, put you over the top. So that's all I have for now. Pass the cap. Like I said, the next one is the cast. I just got my book in. Just got my book in yesterday. So my plan is to start reading that book, and I'm gonna probably do 30 or 40 pages of that book. And if I don't like that book, I'm gonna get another one. I'm not paying 180 for the official book from CompTIA. I've heard mixed reviews about that book. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's not worth the money. So I'm just gonna go with that book, and that's that. Another thing is for any federal employees, I did use. Let me find it. I did use Fed VTE. So I used Fed VTE and I used InfoSec as study materials. So all of the questions on InfoSec and all of the questions on Fed VTE are very old. Like when I start seeing stuff about DICAP, DISCAP, I know that that stuff is very old. For me, I felt like it was just good training material. I wanted to find any question that I could find on the internet related to the cap and just pound it in my head, because there was a lot of questions that I felt like by doing those questions, even though they were old, it was like, okay, well, I didn't know this. And now I know this answer. Okay, well, let me go back and see why this is the correct answer. So now let me do my own study and see why this correct answer, even though this may not be on the test, but it might help me in the future. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. And if anyone has any questions, reach out to me. Peace.